One of the biggest groups in the world, BTS, drops their second album this year.
Like an arrow in the blue sky, 또 하루도 날아가지. On my pillow, on my table. Yeah, life goes on like this again.
B is the new release from the septet of RM, Jin, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, V, and Jungkook. We chat about BTS's ninth album with USA Today entertainment reporter Gary Dingus.
Gary, thank you so much for joining us. How you doing?
I'm great. How about you?
I am doing very well, thank you. I was not up at midnight for its release, but the first thing I did this morning was I signed into my streaming service and I streamed the new BTS album. I'm sure you've listened to it as well by now. What were your first thoughts after listening to it?
It's kind of deep. I mean, they weren't really planning to come out with another album this soon, but because of coronavirus, they can't tour, so they were looking for something to do. And that something turned out to be a new album, but it kind of reflects the moods of the pandemic. There's some ups, then there's some downs.
Absolutely. It does seem to kind of take you on a journey. We'll start at the end of the journey, because the last track on this album, B, was the first single released, Dynamite, #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. As you wrote in your article this past week, their first song to be released, completely performed in English. Gary, at least here in the States, it's pretty common for artists to release their first single or choose their first single as to what's most indicative of what's coming on the album. Do we think that BTS did that here with Dynamite?
They almost had to start with Dynamite being the single that came out first, because that was going to be the one that had the most buzz, just because, like you said, it was their first song recorded entirely in English. I think it's more upbeat than some of the other tracks on there, or at least lyrics-wise, it's more upbeat. But they had to go out with that one first. They knew that was going to be a guaranteed hit, and it was going to generate a lot of buzz.
You wrote, as I mentioned, this kind of BTS retrospective that, if you're one of the few that's late to the BTS party, you can kind of catch up on, who BTS is and how they've become such a worldwide phenomenon by reading Gary's article at usatoday.com. Gary, I'm wondering, as far as that piece that you wrote this week, what do you think the big overall takeaway is from that article and from BTS?
I think it's the numbers. It's just the numbers that this group generates are insane. They set a record for the most views within 24 hours on YouTube. They had 101 million views for the Dynamite video. And I was actually looking at YouTube the other day and checking out the Dynamite video, and that's now up to 680 million views. Their social following, pretty much unmatched. It just, the numbers that this group is able to generate with pretty much anything they do, they're just phenomenal, off the charts.
You mentioned, obviously, B, certainly in some of its tone and its lyrics reflective of being created throughout this stay-at-home that we've experienced worldwide in quarantine. And as BTS was doing that and promoting Dynamite, they told our Rasha Ali that one of the things they missed the most were performing for their fans. They did end up performing 2 virtual concerts in October, but I guess now looking forward, typically you get the album release, you'd get maybe an award show performance, and then you'd get like a tour announcement or something like that. But 2020, right? Like, what's next for BTS?
They are desperate to get back on the road. They want to tour. And as I said earlier, that's the reason we got this second album in a year, was because they couldn't tour. So, I mean, honestly, I would not be surprised, since we don't have a vaccine yet. Venues are not looking to open anytime soon. I think some of the more conservative estimates I've heard are middle of 2021. So I wouldn't be surprised if they even drop more music. Because there's really nothing else to do right now. They can't be out on the road with their fans. So, whether it's streaming, whether it's creating new tracks, they've got a lot of time on their hands.
All right. Well, we mentioned Dynamite topped the Billboard Hot 100. We'll get the Billboard 200. And look, as you said in your album roundup, new album November, you coined it, right? And just today alone, we got Megan Thee Stallion's debut album. We have the 12th studio album from Garth Brooks, a music legend, certainly a country music legend. BTS has some heavyweight contenders here. How do you think they'll fare when this chart's released?
If they're not at number one, they're going to be very, very close to number one. You know, a lot of these tracks, the album has 8 tracks. It clocks in at about 28 minutes. You know, 7 of these 8 tracks had not been heard before the album dropped. So I think there's going to be a lot of excitement out there for people to hear this. And I would not be surprised if it lands at number one. And if it doesn't, it's going to be very, very close.
USA Today's Gary Dingus. Gary, thanks so much for the time.
Anytime. Have a good one.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video, check out these other videos from USA Today Entertainment to stay up to date on all of the latest celebrity news.